Hey, and welcome back to the Me First Mindset podcast, where we're asking what would happen in your life if you started to put yourself first. I have a really special guest with us today. It's my mom, and she's telling her story of all of the times in her life that she had to choose herself, put herself first, even over crazy adversity. You're going to want to hear this story. There's so much in it. I can't wait for you to hear it. Here it comes next.
Hi, my name is Roxanne, and I am a cervical cancer survivor. The doctor said that I could not work because of my epilepsy disability, which I proved them all wrong.
You've lived a lot of stuff. You've done a lot of things in your life. You've had a lot of challenges. You've had a lot of illness. You've had a lot of things that really shook you, and you had to learn how to take care of yourself. And it wasn't easy because nobody in your life has ever left Pittsburgh.
No, and then that was a big move.
It was a big move.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It felt good at first because that was one of my biggest dreams, to move to California, and I had the opportunity to do that, so
How old were
I
you?
was living my dream at that time.
How old were you?
30.
So at 30 years old, you finally decided to move away from where you'd always been
Yes.
across the whole country.
Yes.
How did you make that choice?
I always dreamt about moving to California. And so that my husband's father and family lived in California, so which he hasn't seen in 17 years, so that was
It was a good opportunity for you.
and a big challenge.
Was it hard for you to make that choice?
Yes.
What was hard about it?
Leaving my family, and
Yeah. What was hard about leaving your family?
that I would miss them. Not knowing where I was going, going into a completely different family.
In a completely different area, completely different coast.
Yeah.
And do you think that that choice helped you at all?
Yes.
How so?
Because when I lived in Pittsburgh, I used to drink a lot, and when I moved, I did a 360-degree turnaround. I went from drinking to becoming a Christian and going to church and turning my whole life around.
Learning how to drive for the first time at 30.
Yes.
And before that, you didn't even really have a job.
No.
Why?
Because I was told I could never work because of my disability.
Who told you that?
My doctors and family.
And what kind of disability do you have?
Epilepsy.
So you never even worked. And so here you are, told that you can't work.
I did some side jobs, but not to where.
Yeah. And then you decided that you were going to take a chance on yourself, and you were going to move with your family, your husband, your kids, all the way across the country and live your dream. And then you had to get a license.
Yes.
And you had to learn how to drive.
Yes.
And you had to get a job.
Yep.
How was that?
It was fun. It was overwhelming, but it was a different way of living. And yeah.
And do you think
it was a normal way of living, or
a normal way of living? So it felt normal for you for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah. And then a word that I would use for that is something like empowering. Felt like you could really do something with your life.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when people stay in their hometown, when they don't ever leave where they were born, they're raised, and all their family is, they never change.
No, they say stay complacent.
Yeah. And that sometimes can really make you miss out on stuff.
Yeah.
So you had this great opportunity, and that's not the end of your story.
No, it's not the end. It was the beginning.
That was the beginning. So what happens is that you start with this inkling of choosing yourself for yourself. And some things go well, some things go terrible.
Make a better life for my children.
Yeah, and for you, make a better life for your children, more opportunities. And along the lines, stuff still goes wrong.
Yes.
And things still happen. And I bet you probably had other times in your life where you've had to choose yourself also. Can you think of any other times that you really had to dig down and say, okay, I've got to do something different. I've got to take a chance on myself. I've got to really believe in myself and do something else.
Oh, after I moved to California?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like when?
Quite a few times.
Quite a few times. Tell me about some of them.
Well, the one time was when my husband left, me and my girls in California, and he went back to North Carolina or Pennsylvania. I don't know where he went, but he left me there struggling with them, and we moved like 11 times in 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and learned how to live and take care of myself, to take care of my girls.
Even though doctors told you that you weren't allowed to drive, that you weren't allowed to have a job, and men told you that you weren't worth anything.
Yes.
And they didn't stick around, you still had to pull it together.
Yeah.
Did you graduate high school?
No.
No. It just kind of didn't seem important to you.
Yeah, I was in the 11th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your dad got sick?
My dad died, yeah.
Your dad died?
In 76, yeah.
And you were taking care of your older sister, who was really sick? Yeah. And then they told you couldn't work anyways.
Yeah.
So you didn't graduate. And then fast forward, here you are making all these moves for yourself, and you're in California, and you've got to figure it out. So you decide that you want to go back, and you got your GED.
Yeah, and I went to college.
You went to college?
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you go to college for?
I went for nursing and became a CNA, certified nurse's assistant. Yeah.
So how did it feel for you to finally decide that you were worth investing in?
It felt good to be able to be a productive citizen.
Yeah, it does feel good to be a productive citizen. Part of this story that I know is that you had somebody pretty influential in your life that told you that you could do it, but it came after something really terrible.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I was in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And
and you went to jail.
Yeah, over somebody that it was not my fault.
Right.
And I ended up doing 14 days in jail. It was the worst time.
Worst time of your life. You were following somebody else's life and doing somebody else's life and trying to fit into somebody else's life.
Yes.
And the worst thing that possibly could happen happened. You went to jail. You got raided. You went to jail.
I left everything behind. But when I went to jail, I ended up having to do a year of drug court. And
even though you weren't on drugs and it wasn't your fault, the court order was drug court. But the cool thing about that is that you met the judge.
Yes.
And he really saw something in you.
Yes, and he told me I could go to college and I could make something of myself. And
the cool thing about that was that you do have a disability, but you're not slow. So you were able to really help people in your class too. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
I was going to school to be a psychiatric technician.
Why?
To help other people, and my sister was schizophrenic, bipolar, and I wanted to make a difference in other people's lives and know that there was somebody there for them.
Yeah, because you spent a lot of time taking care of Aunt Patty. You knew how hard it was for her and for people like her, and so you really wanted to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah.
So this gave you the opportunity to do that. So you just went for it. You got your GED and you went to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Became a CNA and had 1 month left, 1 semester left of the psychiatric technician program when my daughter Jennifer got sick, and they said that she had cancer. She had colon cancer.
And so you had to do a wide left turn, and we left everything. This was my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So I was just about to graduate and go to college. Jen gets diagnosed with colon cancer. So you have to drop out.
Yeah, I didn't finish my last semester because she lived
in LA.
And we lived 4 hours away.
And so you ended up having to go live with her for a little while for her treatment.
Yeah, because they were telling her that she might need a colostomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just left everything behind and went to take care of her.
And that was a setback, but it was worth it. You know, we were able to make do. I went off to college.
Yeah.
You ended up staying in LA.
She moves to Kentucky, and I am in LA by myself because my husband decided to leave.
So another repeating cycle for that.
Yeah. So he was one of the best things in my life. That he had an addiction and couldn't figure it out, so he left, and
then he died.
He died. He was. Trash came and emptied the dumpster, and they
compacted him.
Yeah, and they end up finding his body at the dump site day after Christmas.
Yeah, when was that? That was 2019.
Something like that. Yeah,
we got that call on Christmas.
Yeah,
and then fast forward to this is the last big event that I think that people need to hear about is in between those times, what's so important about this story that I love about your story is that you had these times in your life where it occurred to you that you needed to make a change. And then you were really courageous and you were really brave and you just did it. You went for it. And in those moments in time, you changed the course of your life. You really went back on the track. And in between those pinpoints of making those big choices, we get off track for all kinds of good reasons, Jen having cancer or being in an abusive relationship and, or just lots of things happen in life that stop us, prevent us, or make us forget that we're in control of what's happening.
Yeah.
And so we lose our way. We lose our ability to choose for ourselves. We forget that we even have a life that we're trying to live for ourselves anyways. And then it takes these big pinnacle moments of heartbreak and tragedy and loss and scary things to remind us that we need to start taking care of ourselves again. So fast forwarding, Jennifer, cancer scare goes away. And instead, what happens to you?
Then I was diagnosed with 3B cervical cancer.
Then you are diagnosed with cancer. And this is now where the story gets really good.
Yeah.
Because
it's interesting.
This is the part where you can't, you stop believing that all of this can be true for one person.
Yeah.
You're diagnosed with cancer. The thing to know about it is that you had gone to your doctors every week or two saying something is wrong, something is not right, something is wrong. And this is the type of cancer, this is cervical cancer, the type of cancer that people can catch easily with
and it should be caught early.
With a negative PAP. Did you have a negative PAP?
Yes.
Yes. And instead of catching it, they sent you to the emergency room.
Yeah, and I went there and they said that that I had a small cyst, nothing to worry about, and that my doctor was doing everything he could.
They just hand you a card to the oncologist.
Yes. Right?
And you send me a picture of the card and you're saying, oh, well, they're going to send me to a specialist. But the word on there is oncologist.
Yes. Well, when I went to the oncologist, he told me I had stage 3B cervical cancer and there was nothing they could do.
And that it was a 4-ounce mass.
Yeah.
It's already metastasized into your colon wall.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you moved me back to Arizona because they said there was nothing they could do for me here.
That's right.
Yeah.
So.
And then I moved back with you and you had done all kind of naturopathic stuff at first.
Yeah. We did 4 months of naturopathic oncology. And then when you went back to the doctor, they restaged you at a stage 2.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, this is miraculous.
Yeah.
You must have been misdiagnosed the first time because, high-dose vitamin C and red light therapy and dry brushing and ozone therapy and all of that stuff can't work. But it was working.
It was, but it was expensive.
It was really expensive.
Yeah.
Out of pocket. And so we did treatment.
Yeah, 36 rounds of radiation.
Mm-hmm. And
8 treatments of
IV chemotherapy, cisplatin.
And 5 internal radiations.
And did it work?
No.
No.
It shrunk the tumor, but it didn't work.
It doesn't even matter if it shrunk the tumor because it's going to come right back.
Yeah.
So now you have a 15% chance of living.
Yes.
And
so the doctor called us in and she's offered me a bag or a box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She said that she knows some doctors and that I could go in for a surgery called pelvic exoneration, which means they would take a lot of my organs and I would end up with a colostomy bag and maybe a urostomy. But it depended on where the cancer was going. Yeah. And that, so that there was the bag and the other one was the box. They said if I didn't have the surgery that I would die within a year of a slow, painful death because there was nothing else they could do for me.
That's right.
Yeah.
So during all of this, I saw a big shift in you, and I'm wondering if you saw a big shift in yourself. I mean, it's scary to have a cancer diagnosis like that, right?
But with you helped me for it not to spread, got rid of all sugar, and you juiced every day for me. And
when you had this timing, did you feel like, okay, I have got to learn how to take care of myself again. I need to start choosing myself.
Yes.
So what was that like for you? How did you feel about that?
It was hard.
Yeah, you had a lot of big choices. You know, at first you didn't even want the surgery.
No, I didn't want the surgery. I went outside and cried, and I said, all right, I'll come in and do the surgery. And you basically said that I had to have the surgery done, but
I wasn't done with you.
It was, she goes on, you're not ready to lose me. So it was September 14th, and I was in surgery September 26th. And it was a 10.5-hour surgery.
Yeah. So
that left me with a colostomy and a urostomy.
You had to figure out a way to deal with your mindset. Like, what was your mindset like? How did you decide what to do for yourself in those moments?
It was a hard decision, but I am alive today because of that. You know, I didn't know what I had to give, or I didn't know if I wanted to live with an ostomy or urostomy. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody.
You had to learn how to be kinder to yourself. You had to learn how to do exercise for yourself. You had to learn how to eat healthy for yourself. And as a part of that, you and I made this pact. So it was September, right? And on Mother's Day, so October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So about 7 months later.
Yeah, we did a 10K.
We decided that we were going to run a 10K together.
Yeah, because you had already paid for it. And
well, you were about to go into surgery, and we were like, all right, this is something that we can look forward to.
Yes.
It's going to be on Mother's Day in Disneyland. And we have never run I've never run a 10K. You've never run any kind of K.
And you were crying because you said you didn't want to run it alone. So.
Yeah, if you die, I'm going to have to run this alone on Mother's Day. So you got to live through the surgery so that we can run it together.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I had a good sense of humor about it, but when I was alone, I cried a lot.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. It's a huge change. I mean, not only is it like surviving cancer, but also now this is not reversible. These are things that you still have.
Yes.
When was that? 2015? 2014. Almost 10 years ago now. When we talk about finding a silver lining in the shit of life, and like really being so challenged in your life, you have to look for the good stuff. And one of the things that we tried to look for was a support group. First of all, for me, because during all of this, I'm learning how to be your caregiver. I'm trying to graduate from my master's program. I'm trying to work full time, and you're pretty sick.
Yeah, I was really sick.
Yeah, we're going to the hospital every week. I was spending a lot of time. My gosh, we knew all the nurses' names.
Yep, and I had to go to
chemo and radiation.
Radiation every day, didn't I?
5 days a week, yeah. And then
36.
And then chemotherapy once a week. But even after that, though, you know, you were in the hospital for I don't know how many months after that surgery.
Yeah.
Plus in and out of the hospital after that for complications and healing. It was a nasty, gnarly scar. It was a terrible surgery site, yes. And then on top of that, now you're learning how to live with a urine collection bag on one side and a fecal collection bag on the other side.
Yes.
And that's difficult. I mean, not only is it socially hard for you, but also it's like, we've never done this before. We don't know how to not get it infected or like the skin around it. And all of these things are really difficult. So we look for a support group, and we realized pretty quickly that they need help.
Yeah, they needed a president.
They needed a president. And who did they elect as their president?
Well, I asked them. Yeah, so they elected me.
Yeah.
And I was only there, 2 meetings?
Before they elected you as president.
Yeah.
And then
they were looking for one, so.
Yeah, and here you are. You show up, and you're in their time of need. You have something that they don't have, which is you're younger, and you're a little bit healthier, and you're a lot more motivated.
Yeah.
And so what did you end up doing with this?
And so I started having an ostomy picnic, and the first one was really good. It was little, but not as big, but to where it turned into the 5Ks.
So then now you're hosting this big 5K event, and you're increasing awareness with people with ostomies, and now you're connected to Colon Cancer Alliance because you didn't really have colon cancer, but it was close enough, and you had the same kind of colon appliances as colon cancer survivors. So you were now volunteering with Colon Cancer Alliance and bringing them into the ostomy support group.
Yeah, and going to events for them and setting up tables and
and helping a lot of people because you understood how hard this was for a lot of reasons, emotionally, physically, mentally challenging. And so then you were able to be this person for them.
Yeah. And I would always say, like, people would say, why me? And I would be like, why not me? Because I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Right.
You know, so.
And really, you can't get any of that done if you don't learn how to take care of yourself first. You've got to be, you're at home crying on your own. And how do you get yourself out of that?
A lot of it, I'm a firm believer in God.
Yeah.
So I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person.
Yeah.
So I believe and have faith that I can get through this, and He was going to help me get through it.
A lot of people would have probably quit by now.
Yeah, and kept visiting people in the hospital that had ostomies. And
So I can see so many spots in your life where you had big choices on how to go. Like, you could have chosen not to have the ostomy. You know, you could have chosen not to go back to school. You could have chosen not to be the president. But from where I see it, those were opportunities for you to be more who you are.
Yeah, to be more involved in.
Yeah, and to live life on your own terms, like make the best out of whatever it is. Do you think that the choices that you've made to put yourself first and to make those hard choices, have those all paid off? Like, are you happy that you've done that?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a hard question. And, you know, it's an unfair question in a lot of ways, but was it worth having the ostomies so that you could help other people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I didn't have the ostomies, I wouldn't be here right now.
So as much as you've really hated having them,
I've learned to deal with them. They're not as bad as it could be, you know. Once you get the hang of it, yeah.
Yeah. So what advice do you have to people that are struggling to make hard decisions for themselves and go for the things that they really want in life?
Just have to do it and apply themselves.
And what if they think that they are not good enough, or they have had somebody in their life tell them that they can't?
Well, you just can't believe that. You have to believe what is right for you and believe what's in your heart.
And the more you believe in yourself, the more capable you can be.
Yep, you got to believe in you.
And that makes all the difference. Anything else that you want to say to people that are listening that have had a hard time, or that have been, you know, challenged with cancer, or challenged with domestic violence, or challenged with a disability?
If you get help, you can get through it. You know, it depends on you if you want to get the help that you need and get support. You know, I needed the help and support to get me through what I had gone through. You know, I could have just stayed home and not went to a meeting and be poor me, you know, but I didn't. I got out there and went to meetings and got the support that I needed. So.
And that paid off.
Yes.